All right, guys. Welcome back to the Out of Nazareth podcast. I'm Zach, and I'm here with a dear friend, Majd Shufani. Hey, Majd.
Hey.
We're just going to have another conversation, learning about who you are, where you come from, and just, again, the goal of this is to connect people around the world, especially Christians. But I think in my heart, it's the desire to build bridges between people. So if you would be willing to kind of just share a little bit about who you are, where you come from, your family, your job, and feel free to take any tangents if you want, but just kind of a little, this is who Majd is.
Okay, so my name is Majd Shufani.
And what does Majd mean in Arabic?
Glory.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. My grandma picked that.
Okay.
I'm from a small village in the north of the country in the Galilee called Aylabun. Technically, I'm not supposed to be here, but 75-ish years ago, when Aylabun was kicked out, they were the only village allowed back in by order of the Pope or something like that.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, that's a story in itself.
Yeah.
Married, 2 children, and they're driving me crazy. I drive them crazy.
How old are the kids and how long have you been married?
Been married this year will be 10 years.
Wow, nice. That's right, because this year's 10 years for me living here, and I remember that.
Yep. And I think that was the year I met you,
Yep.
actually. We'll get to that. And I have an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old.
All right, their names?
Jonathan and Andrew.
Okay.
Yeah, we went for those names because of airport stuff and.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Things you have to think about here.
Oh yeah. It's
okay.
like, what does Radi mean, or whatever Arab name. There's always someone who's done something with that name, and they're like, we gotta know what color underwear you're wearing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I've been through that too, because when I have traveled back and forth between here in the States, and they're asking me like, where do you live and what do you do? In my first 7-8 years, I was living in Nazareth. And so the minute I said, I work with a church and a school in Nazareth. Okay, you need to come to this side. We have a manager to ask you some more questions. So much so, I started to get to know some of the security workers. It's like, hey, Omer, yeah, go ahead. Nothing in there. Okay, so
give them presents.
And your wife's name?
Iman. Means faith.
Means faith. Ooh, strong. Glory and faith.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet? And I know there's we knew each other, but then how did that relationship evolve?
Again, like you said, I mean, here our community is just so small, so everyone, and everyone knows you. So I've known her for many years.
She's from Aylabun.
She's from Tehran.
Okay.
And when we were little, before there was a church evangelical church in Aylabun, we went to Tehran, and through that I also became friends with her brother Ihab.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sort of an awkward, conversation talking to Ihab about me being interested in Iman.
Totally, I get it.
Yeah. So, we met. I mean, it started when I helped. There was a period I helped with the youth group in Tehran. She was there, and she caught my eye, and the rest is history.
All right. So you thought she was cute first, and she. Did you guys ever talk about hey man, what did you think about me when I was trying to pursue you?
Well, she I don't think she saw it coming. So I mean, you gotta, maybe that's something I'll ask her.
Yeah, for sure. I love asking people.
Yeah, but when you say, I'm interested in you, and she says, okay, let's talk. I mean, you don't talk about, are you interested in me? You're like, oh, there's a door. Let's.
She let the door be open.
She
that's nice. Bye bye.
Yeah, we'll take that.
Cool. All right, 10 years, Jonathan and Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
What have you learned about being a father? In terms of, I mean, I don't know this world yet, but about being a father in terms of the sacrifice you have to make, and the type of love that you experience with your boys.
Man, do you have 2 hours?
Yeah. Go for it, man. Whatever.
I mean, when we had Jonathan, I mean, it takes you a while to realize it, but before you even fully understand what happened, you're hit with so many other things, sleep deprivation and, whatnot and all of that. And, but to me, it put a whole new perspective on God the Father. And it continues to. It's not something, I mean, when your children grow, they go from, I don't know, it's their first belly turn and whatnot, he flipped, that's a big day, he drew a circle, that's, another big day. And so from that to like crawling, to walking, to running, to riding bicycles, there are so many markers along the way, and it's not all the beautiful stuff. There's also one time I had a very long day. I mean, it was just terrible. I sat in my chair, TV is on, I'm not even watching, I'm just staring. And Jonathan, I think he was 4 at the time, something like that, 3 or 4. And he's like, Dad, I'm spitting at the TV. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Then I sort of wake up, look at the television, it's full of water. I mean, he was putting water in his mouth and spitting at it, and just the colors. And it was then, I mean, afterwards, it's like God is so good of a father that he's able to have so much more patience with us than we have with our own children. But after all of that, you love your children. With everything that we do and everything that we mess up and all of that, there's nothing that we can do that can make the father say, no, you know what? That's it. I'm done with you.
That's what I've heard as I've asked this question to parents. There's a whole new understanding of like, no matter what my kid does, like I will love them. And I think so, even my own faith and walk with the Lord, it's just so common for us to have like human logic and be like, oh, I messed up. Like he's mad at me and upset. And there might be those feelings, but it's always like, it's okay. Like get back up and walk again. That whole idea of when Jonathan and Andrew were doing their first steps, they step, they fall. It's not like you're like, get up, come on, man.
Be a man.
You should be better than this by now. So it's like, no, like way to go. Good job. You tried. And yeah, you fell, but here we go, back up.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Will you share a little bit about what you do for work? We'll get into like where me and you met, but currently what keeps you busy day to day?
I work with a local, an organization locally called Grace Ministry. And it's U.S., if you want to call it, parent or like side Christian Holy Land Foundation.
Okay.
And it's a group of 6 pastors and their families doing ministry in different parts of, mainly in the Galilee area. So in Bani, Rami, Ailabun, Turan, Kafurkanna. And so I do the news gathering, social media management, pictures, videos, the media side of it.
Okay.
There are stories to be translated and sent to the U.S., to supporters, to people.
Okay, so wow, you're connected with the States, all right, like in work.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know the supporters and things I have.
But the organization is big.
Yeah,
okay.
It's based in the U.S.
Okay.
I do that part-time. I do some similar work for a local business as well, a camera store. And I do freelance video, photo work.
Cool. Do you remember what age and how you got like interested in video? And because when we were younger, it wasn't as popular, but now everybody with a phone thinks they're a photographer.
Yeah, especially with Instagram filters.
Exactly. I remember Instagram at the beginning where it was just like horrible photos everywhere.
Yeah,
and you're
everything.
Like, look, a treat. Now it has to be like with a story, content, like
yeah, it's an ever evolving world. But well, when I was in school, I did some theater.
Okay.
So that was long time ago. I don't think
Acting
I
or
can
like
acting. Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't think I can still do that. It's I'm so self-conscious now.
Oh, no, baby.
But it was that right out of high school. I always loved photography, but that always took a seat. I mean, to other things.
Okay.
So. I worked at Nazareth Village for some time, and you know that as a tour guide.
Nazareth Village.
That's
Shout
one of the
out.
places. And actually, that's not where we met, and I'll get that. I'll remind you of a place.
Petah Tikva.
We didn't meet in Petah Tikva, but that's close. We'll get to that.
We'll get there.
But just recently, it's something that I love.
Okay.
And
like you don't remember like the spark.
Well,
or...
not in terms of where it started, but where I started taking it seriously is sort of recently, where I thought, I could do so many things well, but I don't enjoy them. So I want to try and make money doing something that I enjoy.
Amen, man.
So because you can, there's this slope of how much money you can do and maintain that for something you don't like to justify it.
Yes. I have friends who don't like their job, but I got to provide for the family, man.
And not only that, if it pays well, then they'll keep doing it. But if it doesn't, you're like, this just sucks. Let's try something else. And worst come to worst, it's just I'll figure something else out.
So you got there. That was kind of your.
Well, my current job allows me.
Okay.
Because it's a part-time job, I'm able to also delve into photography, videography, and things like that.
And that, I like to ask people, what do you like to do in your free time? Like, if you have...
when you...
Once you have kids, it's a different thing.
Yeah, sleep.
Yes, I get that. So, if you could choose, what makes you come alive?
If I get more free time, I want to do more music.
Okay. That's right. You're a guitarist.
And pianist. Yeah, I'm just all-around musician.
General musician.
Yeah, nice. So I want to do more of that worship. I want to maybe finally record my worship songs. And
that's what brings you to life.
It's one of the things. It's and I remember a time where I was a lot more creative than I am now. So I want to maybe try and get back to that at one point.
Huh. What do you think took away?
It's just busyness. It's okay. Yeah. It's.
Oh, not like the creative level you have. It's just your time ability to create.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, your brain's capacity is taken up by so many things that you aren't always able to just sit down and think of something beautiful or meaningful, a lot of times, and some people ask me, how do you write music? How do you get inspired? I'm like, you don't. Some people wait for a download from the Holy Spirit. I'm like, you don't have to. Just walk outside in nature, look for situations, try and interpret them in one way or another, or just watch Scrubs. And, because, I mean, in the past maybe year, that's the thing that moved me the most. Yeah. Some of the episodes on there, it's like, moving, and you start to think, and,
Okay.
I mean, sometimes there's that download, and sometimes there isn't, and that doesn't mean you shouldn't do anything. Just try, and if it sucks, I mean, try again.
There's a couple just ideas behind that of when you produce something, it's it's out of you, it's because you love it. Don't hold yourself back based on what other people might say. And when it's genuine, authentic, I think, more people like it. Okay, now I'm really curious though. If we didn't meet at the village, by the way, Nazareth Village is a place that recreates first century life for people that come and visit. It's, time as Jesus lived. We give a tour that incorporates scripture into historical living. If you've ever been to Colonial Williamsburg in Virginia, it's that kind of idea. But so I'm a volunteer there for 10 years. I give tours, dress as the shepherd, help with meals. And when I came in 2014, Majd was a worker there. And you did a lot of the content creation, video, photos, and a tour guide.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's hardly. I mean, I did so many things.
Right, you're
when you work there,
right,
you do so
yes,
much.
absolutely.
Bake bread and serve and
Right, yeah. Wherever
there's
it's
no
needed.
free time.
So,
Yeah, everyone's always busy because, especially the season, it's crazy.
but if we didn't meet there, where did we meet?
Well, that summer at the Potter's Wheel camp, I wasn't there all the weeks.
No, Zahir, my first camp, Zahir Haddad was the one in charge.
Was that your first? I think that was your first.
That was my first.
That was your first, but I think my wife and I had just come back from our honeymoon, maybe a week at home, and I don't know, I can't remember the details, but we were there only for 1 week that they really needed extras, people to help. And my wife and I had over 10 years under our belt in that, so we could run or we could help in anything really. So we didn't meet at the camp, but after the camp was over, there was that meeting at the hotel in Nazareth.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was called, in Gili.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had the meal for like the leaders afterwards.
Yeah. And I don't think I stayed I can't remember if I stayed for the whole thing, but I remember you walked in a bit late and everyone's like, Zach! And I'm like, who's this guy?
Who is this random guy?
Not only that, it's like, I owned the camps before. So
Habibi.
I'm like, and who's this guy? Everyone's like, where did they meet him? So.
Okay, so that was your first. That's so cool to hear, just the opposite side of the reaction.
And I got to say something. We've seen so many Americans come through. We've seen so many Americans come with their organizations, with their churches, and, we did ministry, and then they go home. And that sort of built, I don't want to say a resentment, but some sort of I don't want to get attached to these people. It's like they come and go.
Right.
So they come, they do their thing. We do the ministry together. I don't hate them, but I don't get attached to them because they're going to leave. And so that was how I viewed you at first.
A lot of people did. Oh yeah, there's another American. He's gonna come and go. Literally, I've heard it so many times.
Yeah, but
for whatever reason, it's 10 years later, I'm still here. Man, that's so. I remember because I came in July of 2014, and there was a group of American interns with Young Life and serving for the summer. And our friend Hunter Lambeth had asked me to come for a year. So I remember going to church before the camp, and it was just, I knew Hunter and Lori, and so you're just kind of sitting there. And then I went to the camp and spent a week with all these people. I can tell, I still feel it, the emotion that when I walked into church after the camp, and there's all the leaders sitting on the back row at the church in Nazareth, and everybody, Zach, high five. And I was like, wow, I'm known now. I have community and people.
And we love our, foreigners.
Right? Yeah. And it was so special. That was the camp where I started even just the basics of Arabic with the numbers. Kids are running out and spinning around something. I'm like, what? Tanin. So, dang. Yeah.
And that was 10 years ago.
10 years. Look at us
almost.
now.
Yeah.
By the way,
you look the same.
I know, baby face, good genetics. I remember when I came, I was 23, and people thought I was the new student at the school, 18 years old, and I was like, no, no beard. But what was I gonna say? Potter's Wheel, Petah Tikva. It's this really special place here, where churches have used this ground. It's known as the Baptist Village. It's in the center of the country near Tel Aviv, where for 50 years, evangelicals have been having camps every summer. And kids look forward to this. There's 3 weeks of camps, 10th and 9th grade, 8th and 7th grade, 6th and 5th grade. You get leaders who are in college, a little bit older maybe. It's one of the most special things here, and I've gotten to serve for all these years. So just a little knowledge about Petah Tikva and Potter's Wheel Camp.
And a lot of the counselors there are kids who were there, like Wasim.
Yeah, we're kids. You were his leader?
I was his leader. I mean, if I go there right now, just for a visit, Probably most of the counselors, I was their leader at
For
one
sure.
point. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's weird. Like, so now we've gone through almost like another cycle after COVID. The group that we had that was kind of like early 20s, mid 20s, a lot of them have moved on and are working totally great. There's a couple select few that are still around. Wasim is one of them. But now it's like the whole new round of leaders who are like 19 and 18. And it's so sweet to see these young little babies trying to serve and giving a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks of their summer to serve the Lord and serve these younger kids. It's really special. Got a shout out to Sitmanol as well. Just the queen running things for a long time. Yeah, man, that place is special. All right, we'll get into like maybe a little bit of a deep topic. This will be our thing, and then see where it goes after that and fade up. We were talking about identity.
Yeah.
Here, and it's such a complex. It can be a complex because there's lots of roots, branches, all that. I have a couple of things that I'll share what I've learned and how people have explained finding their identity here. But would love to just open that up to you. What does it mean to, just explain kind of your history, your ethnicity and stuff, and the identity part.
Well, technically, it's not complex. That's another lie we've been told to just...
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, the identity, and we grew up with this idea that it's complex, so there's no need to try. I mean, that's what the West is always told.
Okay.
It's complex, but it is not. It is simple. But over the years, and we were just talking about this, we were told things growing up, and it's just your typical indoctrination, basically, being told of who you are by someone else, and growing up in a place where you'll just take whatever you're able to take.
What do you mean by that?
You see, locals have never been in control in this area. That's something that people don't really understand. The last time, if you want to say local, ruled here, like the kingdom of Judea, being taken to exile. And even that was not that old. Wow. So it was a couple of 100 years. So after that, I mean, it was the Babylonians, Assyrians, I can't remember the order, the Persians, and then the Greeks, right?
This is what we talk about in the Nazareth village tour. This piece of land.
But you never think about it in this way. And then the Romans, right? I mean, the Greeks did their number. They basically forced everyone in the whole Hellenization thought, which is basically how you dismantle a culture, how you just take away what makes these people a people, and you just make them like everyone else. So they are no longer that unique them. And then the Romans, and after the Romans, the Mamluks and the Muslims, the Mamluks and all of that. So you have all these people coming from elsewhere to this piece of land to control it. And if we get to the most recent history, I mean, the Ottoman Empire was 400 years, followed by the British...
Right, partition plan or
occupation first. Okay. Which turned into a mandate.
Yeah, right. The British mandated Palestine.
And then Israel.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to go into the politics of all of that, but we never really controlled I don't want to say controlled our fate, but we never were in control. Let's just say that.
You were never governing, really.
No. And that was never a problem. As long as, we had freedom.
Yeah.
The Greeks did that. The Romans did that. Freedom of worship, freedom of everything.
You got to pay us the tax.
Yeah, I mean, there was a period of time where Christians were really persecuted and hunted down. But after that, I mean, during the Ottoman period, sure, So we never governed ourselves, and that was always okay. And we always did what was okay. So we're okay. We always pleased our ruler. And so I grew up as an Arab Israeli or Israeli Arab. I don't know which one comes first. But and that's what many people who are referred to as the 48 Arabs refer to themselves as.
Explain 48 Arabs real quick.
It's Arabs who stayed in what is now governed by Israel or the government of Israel inside of Israel.
Okay.
So after 1948, those who did not disperse, they're not part of the 750,000 people who were transferred or kicked out of their homes. They stayed here and they became Israeli citizens, and these are the 1948 or the 48 Arabs.
Okay.
And so a lot of us would identify as Israeli Arabs or Arab Israelis. The problem with that is that that term, it's as if their existence began with Israel. When in fact, and this is, what they don't want to go so much into, this whole part of the land was called Palestine, geographically speaking. And so if you go anywhere in the world before 1948, you're from Palestine.
Yeah, the maps say it.
And that's fine. I mean, official documents, that's what they said. But because of growing up here and, being told you're Israeli Arabs, which is fine. I mean, we live here, we pay our taxes, we're law-abiding citizens and all of that. We're fine with that. But our heritage is Palestinian. Our language is our dialect is Palestinian. Our culture is Palestinian. And so we are Palestinian by default. I mean, just a few kilometers away from here, there's a what's the term I'm looking for? Lubi, an evacuated Palestinian village
from before 48.
It was
a village at 48. It got evacuated.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it's less than 5 kilometers away from here, maybe 5 kilometers away from here. So El Aboun would by default be a Palestinian village too.
But it's the same type of thing.
Yeah, but we never thought of it that way. El Aboun itself was forced to leave, but it was the only village allowed back because the priests started sending letters to the Pope or like church officials because and they allowed it back because it was a Christian village. So
interesting.
Yeah, bit of a history. I mean, El Aboun would take 3 more or 4 more hours just talking about all of that. And honestly, growing up in the church, I never really paid that much attention to politics. I always distanced myself from it because we grew up, give what is Caesar's to Caesar's and what's God's to God.
Right.
And that's great. So you pay your taxes, you live by the law.
You respect, and there is this element when whatever opinion we have as a follower of Lord Jesus of Nazareth, the element of Caesar, what is Caesar's? Living in harmony, living in peace, being submitted to whoever God has put in authority.
Submit to authority.
Right? That's what I was looking for. Okay. Even if I don't like the prime minister, the president, whatever, God is above me, and I see.
And we do that. We're very good at submitting to authority. Yeah. We've been doing that for thousands of years, for hundreds of years. Okay, let's just say hundreds of years. We've always submitted to authority. Locals, even 1948, that war was not fought against locals. It was fought against the Arab League army, which is
Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon.
Just a bunch of Arab countries saying, we're going to fight.
Yeah. We love it.
Yeah. And who's going to pay the price?
The locals.
The locals. So,
So growing up in the church, having that, I'm not going to enter politics because I'm going to focus on.
Yeah. But at the same time, and I'll get back to this, but at the same time, and you have this idea that we have that we should not go into politics, but everything that formed 48
your existence
is eschatology based. So maybe not 100%, but a lot of what the church's attitude in the West about this region is based on eschatology. And here we are, the locals, saying we don't want to do anything with politics.
Right.
But in 2005, September to March of 2006, I was in Northern Ireland with Youth of the Mission.
Okay, YWAM.
Yeah. Nice. And I did a discipleship training school there. And the last thing that came to mind is I'm going to, make a decision there on my political stance in a foreign country. I mean, there I am in Belfast, crossing from the Shankill Road, which is a Protestant area, to the Falls Road, it's parallel street, which is Catholic, and there you find murals in Arabic and the Palestinian flag. And it's because they identify, I mean, the Protestants with Israel and the Catholics with Palestine, because it is the same cause. It's, the British or the English coming over to Ireland and saying, we want to take this land. And that's, I mean, Northern Ireland to this day, it is part of the United Kingdom. It's not Irish. So, but still, I'm like, I don't want to, I'm not from here. This is not my thing.
I got my own problems at home.
I mean, peace. I mean, I'm just for peace. You know, that's it. Let's talk about things. Let's talk about peace and advance that. And that's always been my approach to things. It continues to be. But it was a misunderstanding that if you avoid the problem, that means peace. If I mean, any married person would tell you, avoiding the problem does not bring peace. It just
come on with it.
It just makes it harder and harder. So I was at a bus stop in Belfast, and there was a kid, maybe 7 or 8 years old, and he looked at me and with his Belfast Irish accent asks me, "Are you Catholic or Protestant?" And I was, for a second, I was about to say I'm from Israel, but then I thought, wait. If I say I'm from Israel and he's Catholic, he might, not like me, or might
or have a different reaction.
Yeah, because they'll connect the dots, So I just said, well, I'm not from this country. That was my way to get out of it.
Wow.
And so that's what evangelicals do here locally. Yeah, you guys. We're like, this is earth, and our home is in heaven. We are citizens, future or whatnot, of heaven. Our allegiance is with God. And I'm like, yeah, that's
right?
100%.
Hallelujah.
100%. But you're right here. And if Jesus walked on earth and he talked about the truth and he got in the face of the religious leaders and whatnot, and these are the leaders of the people. Yeah, there was the Roman Empire and the Roman rule, but Jesus hardly ever criticized those. He criticized the Pharisees, the scribes, the priests, and he got in the face of face of what is false, in the face of what is a burden to the people. I mean, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. I mean, so what truth do we talk about? What truth do we avoid talking about? Because whatever you avoid talking about means it is so big
that you're too scared
to talk about it. But
you don't have hope that it can get reconciled. Like whatever it is,
whatever damage is doing, it's big. And so we're in the habit of just being silent and quiet. Now, a lot of people take extremes, and so they think what I'm talking about is grabbing flags and going out on the streets and yelling and screaming and burning tires and overthrowing. No, that's not
right.
But there is a conversation to be had.
Absolutely.
There's a way to find a middle ground. There's a way of saying, you know what? Actually, even when we come and talk about this from the Christian point of view, iron is sharpened by iron. I mean, if someone just says things that you like, that's not a good friend. A good friend would tell you, listen, I love you, but you need to change this thing about you.
That's what, there's a nice Jesus. Jesus is my friend as modern. Jesus is my homeboy. That's like this modern image of him. When, yes, Jesus loves you and is your friend, but what did he tell the woman caught in adultery? What did he tell Zacchaeus? Hey, yes, I love you, but what you're doing right now, stop it and don't continue. You change direction. There is an accountability to how you're living your life, not just like there's grace, there's mercy, which is this crazy paradox. Yeah. But I remember it took me so it took me so long, because as a kid being introduced to what the Christian faith is and then living life and experiencing it, it was so hard for me until I lived it to think that my heart will change first because of falling in love with our sweetheart Jesus, and that changes my actions, versus I need to, white knuckle it and change my actions, and then that will change my heart. It was this amazing experience, revelation for me, where more and more as I fall in love and want to follow Jesus, I am naturally being convicted of things like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Or the way I responded to that person in anger, I should go and, make amends. So that was just, again, in terms of making peace and being like, it's okay, like, I don't want to step on your toes. That wasn't Jesus, man. He's like, I love you, but come with me and let me show you how to do this.
And Paul did the same, like in 1 Corinthians. He's like, you guys are great. You're full of every spiritual gift. And he goes on for like 15, I can't remember how many chapters. You guys suck at this, and that. I mean, even chapter 12, he's like talking about gifts and what is, and he's like, but let's take a break. Chapter 13, he's like talking about love. You're great at all of this, but if you suck at love,
all of that doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Wow. Come on with it. Dang. Okay. So if I was going to ask you, Maj, like, identify yourself, what would be like your first marker of identity set? Like, where would you rank your identity markers?
Well, this is where it gets, some people would call it complicated, but it isn't. It should just be clear who I am.
Yeah.
And what I prefer, not always what I prefer to be, because at times, some things you don't really care where they fall in place. But the one thing I care about the most, like if I don't want to talk about being a husband or a father and all of that, like what identity of course, Christian. That's the first one. And then an Arab, because, that's a broader...
Yeah. It's a race, right?
Yeah,
you were born into this. I was born into being American.
Yeah, that's, a large group of people. I'm an Arab.
Yeah.
And then I got to say, Israeli and Palestinian, they should be on the same plane.
Yeah. Yeah, amen, man.
Because, I
think that's what we want.
My existence didn't start with, again, Israel. So I have this heritage and this baggage and all these customs and things. But at the same time, I'm also Israeli.
Absolutely.
And I shouldn't be forced to choose this or that.
Wow. Oh,
a lot of people, they're like, oh, you don't like it, just leave. Well, there are so many things. I don't like my car. I can try and buy another one, but then there's going to be something I don't like about it. Yeah. There's always something that you don't like about it. And there are things that I don't like about, Palestinian culture.
Right?
Like,
there's stuff I don't like about American culture.
Yeah, there's always things you don't like. That doesn't mean, you just wish it wasn't there.
Yeah.
That it would. So I am Palestinian and I'm also Israeli. And to me, these sit on the same plane.
Yeah.
They shouldn't fight. They shouldn't, like, it's either this or that. There's room for both.
Amen, man.
Because I am both.
One of the things my mom says is, both and, or yes and.
Yeah.
Like, are you Palestinian? Yes, and I'm also Israeli.
Yeah, my official papers say this, but my culture is not Israeli.
Wow.
Like, I don't have the attire of, I don't even know what Israeli attire is. My dialect is not Israeli.
You're more, in all technicality, just thinking, Israel comes from the name Israel, Jacob, one who wrestles with God, was renamed.
And the people then named after him.
Right, exactly. Like the tribe of Israel, because it came from one man. Mm-hmm. You're more Israeli than a Jewish person growing up in New York, in the sense of they're Jewish. You're Israeli. But people equate Jewish with Israeli, but in terms of language and customs and things, Jewish is a faith.
But yeah, I'm learning now that Israeli is not only, and this is going to be confusing. Okay, this is where we can say it's complicated.
All right.
Okay, because there's official Israeli, which is like, this is an Israeli passport, this is an Israeli ID card, this is,
that's
the
what I
area
mean. Yeah.
of Israel.
That's what I mean.
But then there's Israel, which is to this day still being used. I mean,
The God of Israel. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, or Am Yisrael, people of Israel.
Yeah.
When you hear someone say Am Yisrael, it's not talking about everyone in Israel. It's talking about a group in Israel. So in a way, because I have the Israeli ID and whatnot, and the Jewish guy in New York doesn't, I guess I am more Israeli than him.
It's just a thing. I first time thought about that.
Yeah, but on the other hand, he's more Am Yisrael, the nation of Israel, than I am. So yeah, I'll give you this part being complicated.
And that's an understanding. In what way are you using the word Israeli? Are you using it Am Israel? Are you using it as someone who
can't.
But I mean, people would say, you're a Christian, Zach. And I was like, well, tell me what you mean by that. And they would go, oh, you don't do this. I was like, well, I've done all those things. So by your definition, I'm not a Christian.
And there's a lot of, what do you call these? They have like the cross on their hand, straight edge.
Okay.
There are many I think they call them
like Orthodox.
No. They're not even religious, but they don't drink, they don't smoke.
Like a straight edge person.
Straight edge. You know. Yeah. So I mean, but does that mean they're Christian?
Right. Oh yeah, exactly. Those things like you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't have sex. Oh, I don't do all those things, but do you believe that Jesus is the physical form? No. So again, and that's where I think, as I've gotten older in forums like this, conversations and stuff, understanding what you mean or what people mean by using this word is very, very necessary. And then funnily enough, I'm a third child. I'm kind of like a peacemaker, like nobody like be upset. I want everybody to be happy. But realizing that that's not always the best way to go in terms of like, oh, you can think that about this. No, let's come to an understanding. So, dang. Okay. So Christian, Arab, is there anything else in there? Dad, husband, okay, all that good stuff. Photographer, cool.
But I mean, just
go for it.
I'm a musician and I'm a photographer. I mean, those don't fight.
Right.
It's not like it would be ridiculous to be like, no, you can't be both. You got to choose one. What?
Well, that's right. Oh man, I mean, I wish. If this place, if the people living here could somehow through the Lord, through whatever, experience peace, then one, we would know that peace is possible wherever. And funnily enough, I'm going to jump back because this connects. Serving often at Petitford camps these last 10 years. And there's still American groups from like Dallas Baptist University, Alabama. There's people that come and serve for a week. And they've come up to me and asked me, because, oh, Zach, you're American, but you've lived here. You kind of, what's the solution for peace? And I'm like, okay. But this has become my, quick answer. The smartest minds, politicians, academics, whatever, philosophers have tried to figure out peace here. Nobody can. So what I say is Jesus is the answer, cliche, but why? Because what I've experienced here is both cultures are very connected to their past, which I love. But it also means that it's hard to let things go. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of, you did this to me. Well, or I did that to you because you did this to me. And you can go back. One of the most special things about Jesus in my own personal life, and I think on the bigger scale that he can do is, yes, what happened. And it can hurt. But what does he tell us? Today, you're a new creation, and let's move forward. Mm-hmm. And so if an understanding in both cultures or whatever, Jesus being the like, I love you. Yes, all that happened. It's forgiven. It doesn't mean it's gone, but it's forgiven. Let's start anew here and move forward. So that's my like quick answer to them. And they're like, yeah, amen. I'm like, but it takes people who know the Lord. And one of the prayers I try to pray often is, Lord, let the people who know you wherever they are in the villages around here be the light to their communities. It mm-hmm. takes those people living in such a way and sharing, what's it in Isaiah? How can I know unless someone shares? And how can someone share unless they go? And it like breaks it all down. So I think that's maybe one of the reasons I have stayed here or been here just working in ministry, because I feel that, Isaiah, I think 55:9 maybe, it's like, who's going to go in my name? And it's like, I will, Jesus. I'll
go.
go. I'll try. You got to show up with me, but I'm going to go out in faith. So, cool, man. Well, I'll just kind of finish with, anything you want to share, any wisdom that, you're giving your kids or that you would like to give to whoever watches this.
I mean, especially about the last thing that we talked about. Again, we're always tempted and encouraged even to take sides. And it's cliche to say, I'm for peace, so I'm right here in the middle. But when my children fight or they disagree, I stand in the middle and I listen to both of them. And if this guy wronged this guy, I say, apologize to him and now be friends. It's not apologize, you're wrong, you're bad, and, just bash on them and just each go your own way. Because reconciliation is not about pointing fingers. It's about, okay, this damage is done. How do we move forward? You can't tell people just drop it. Because, you get hit by a bus, you're going to feel it.
Right. Yeah. No, it's forget. It doesn't mean it's gone.
Yeah.
And we learned from it.
No, but you got to let go. You have to let go. You will carry scars, but it is a sign of what you're able to overcome, not, a reminder of who has done this to you and what you got to do to them and whatnot. When we talk about Christianity as a solution, when we talk about God being the true giver of peace, it all comes down. I can simplify it to this. Just love people. Love people. If you're able, and I'm guilty of this as well. If you're able to look at two people you don't know, and based on their appearance, be able to love one of them more than the other, there's something wrong with that. If there's something that is causing you to, without even understanding the conversation, easily take sides with this person than this, then you're being biased. And even if you take a side with this person, it doesn't mean you wish this guy dies. It doesn't mean we fall into this so often, and it's wrong. It's just we need to be able to have this conversation. Yeah. Friends fight, and they make up and they move on. Yeah, it happens that people disagree.
And then I've learned, hey, you're my friend, and that upset you earlier. So I'm gonna not do that again if I love you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But if they continue, that's what we tell young people in church. A toxic relationship, just get out of it. It doesn't have to be this or that. It doesn't have to be white or black.
It's so much greater.
And it's not about not being decisive. It's about being able to confront. It's about being able to comfort this person while kindly correcting the other, or vice versa. And that's why I'm not even talking about who is who in this conversation, because
humans.
This concept should apply across the board.
Yeah.
And if who the parties involved starts to change this idea, then there's bias. So, at least when we talk about this region, again, it's not complicated. Something started at one point, and that doesn't mean we should hate someone. Someone did something wrong on both sides. That doesn't mean we should hate everyone on each side. That doesn't mean I should be on this side versus this side, or this side versus this side. And I gotta say, it's odd that we're in a time that even saying something like this can be misinterpreted and can... if I end up in jail, he'll let you know.
No, it's sad. You're right. It's a bummer that we have to kind of tiptoe around these, because everybody's got an opinion, and it's so much easier to have an opinion behind a keyboard than face to face. But just to finish, man, I think what you said about Bob Goff puts it as love God, love people. And we know love your neighbor. And one of my favorite things, it's actually was made a law, the Good Samaritan law in the States, where it's who's my neighbor then? And Jesus tells this story of two people that should hate each other, and one of them took care of them. And he's like, there's your neighbor. So Amen, man. Thank you so much. So good talking to you. And thanks, guys, for tuning in. We appreciate it. And we'll see you again on another episode of Out of Nazareth podcast.